You guys, good to hang
Absolutely.
out. Love sitting down, and I'm excited to jump into your story.
Yes.
And for those of you who have never heard their story, I just have to say it is powerful. And the role you guys are playing, I just love that we're sitting down right now because this is actually one of the first places that we met
Yes.
and started to connect right here on campus and getting to know you guys over the last couple of years. Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first met, I think my hair was a lot longer.
Yeah.
And like, I want to look like you. I want to be like you, man. Like, I mean, our relationship has continued to grow.
Yeah, it takes hard work, man.
I've learned from you, man. I've learned from you a little bit.
That's what's up.
Let's start from the beginning, though.
For sure.
Because, I mean, you didn't just get here overnight.
Right.
And you guys both had, I'd say, challenging backgrounds.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about just your backgrounds.
Yeah. Well, for me, I come from a single family home. My dad wasn't in the picture. My mom raised 4 girls on her own. So life looked a lot different. Very dysfunctional. Even though we were going to church, we didn't live that outside of church. And so I grew up with this perception of wanting to be loved, but looking for it all in the wrong places. And so
That's good.
yeah.
Talk about a little bit just the dysfunction. Your mom as a single mom, raising 4 girls. What did it look like day to day for you guys?
Yeah, so my mom was in the banking industry, so we were home by ourselves and kind of did what girls do, everything under the sun. And so that was our dysfunction, is just not having a constant parent in the home, and then an absent father that was nowhere around. So that was the dysfunction that kind of circled our lives.
Did you have any connection with your father?
A little bit. He would stop by every now and then to come see us, but never anything consistently. And then when we got older, he was around, but he really didn't play that father figure role. He was more as a friend. And so, and that's sadly how our relationship is today, just more of a friend role versus a father figure role.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Tyrece, what about you, man?
Yeah. So I would say it was a dysfunctional kind of a home that I grew up in. Yeah. Parents were doing their best to handle the things of life that they were challenged with, from addictions to just drinking, partying. They were social, but at the same time, you could see just within our behaviors that we were living in a dysfunctional household. Yeah. And it was an eye opener for me how long I carried that in my life. And today I can tell you that that's not easy to get over.
Right.
So, yeah.
So at young ages, you guys kind of both grew up in pretty dysfunctional homes. What did that lead to in terms of your actions, your behaviors, as you got to high school, as you got to college, as you could make your own decisions? Did you go to high school? Did you graduate from high school? Talk to us about that season of your life.
Yep, went to high school, graduated high school. What happened for me, I got pregnant right after high school. So I got pregnant at 18, had Avery at 19. And so that's what my out of high school life looked like, is raising a child, single parent, and trying to figure out motherhood, trying to figure out who I am, and had to raise a child. So at 19, had my first son.
Wow. Yep. So right out of high school, had your first son.
Yep.
And you said it earlier, looking for love in all the wrong places and searching, and you have a child. That changes everything. Yep. You start to raise this child. You probably start working a little bit.
Yep. I was working 2 jobs, had my own place, but still living a very dysfunctional lifestyle because that's all I knew.
Right.
And so still going out partying, going to the clubs every weekend, and then trying to raise a child too.
Right.
And so that led to horrible relationships. Just horrible relationships.
That's good. That's good. Ty, what about you?
Yeah, my parents were great at home, but I truly believe like what I was getting at home was so different from the circle that I was around, and it looked different through my behaviors. There was times where I was getting in trouble from time to time. I could even remember in high school when I went and stole my first pair of shoes. And
Were they Jordans?
No, there were some Reeboks. They were Reeboks.
Reeboks, man. I was still Reeboks, man.
Back in the day, if you didn't have Reeboks,
Hey,
you
right.
wasn't in, bro.
Hey,
So I can remember the police chasing me, following me to my house, and I guess it was by the grace of God that he didn't go inside and tell my parents, because I was able to give him the shoes off my feet that day.
Wow.
And that was in high school, and those behaviors just continued to go, just little by little. I would feel like they continued to show up in my life, and it caused me a lot of problems that were unnecessary.
Wow. What about, I mean, you played basketball.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, you was all right. You
I
know,
was good. I was good. Come on. 2-1 me, player.
I mean, you're talented. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how tall are
Thank
you.
you.
6 foot?
6'4".
I was just kidding. 6'4".
Yeah, 6'4". Had some
Athletics.
handles.
Yeah.
Jumper was nice.
So, like, I mean, did you play through high school, college?
Absolutely. So basketball was my dream. I always had envisioned myself going to Duke University, playing for the Seattle Supersonics, and I really was intentional about playing basketball every single day. But I know that was an avenue where I would kind of release the pain that was inside for me.
Right.
You know, I don't think I was playing it for passion like I should have been, but it was more like a place where I could escape my realities, because I would play there and I would come home and I would feel a sense of relief, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I was able to in high school. I was very fortunate to know the Williams family, and we really
Coach Roy Williams,
Coach Roy
coach
Williams,
at North Carolina,
the coach in North Carolina today, and we really became close. Like, we became close, and like his son became like a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Even in high school, he was trying to keep me on the straight and narrow. Like, bro, follow me.
Right.
Here's a path for you. I see the difference between your life and my life.
Right.
Here's a path for you to go down. But I couldn't see it clear enough.
Well, I mean, why didn't Coach Williams get you that scholarship, man? What's up? I thought we was cool.
Coach Williams, quite frankly, Coach Williams was there. Like, it was up to me.
Wow.
He was there. The hand was there.
Wow.
The heart was there. Like, his home was there.
Wow.
I was there all the time.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
up
crazy.
for me to say, come on, I'm ready.
Wow. That's so cool.
Crazy.
I mean, it's cool how even in the midst of you going down your path, there was different people in your life who helped you in different seasons. You were talented.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen you play a little bit.
It's
and
okay.
You definitely, I think, could have played at a very high level.
Yes, with the right coaching.
With the right coaching. But also, I know you had, just challenges off the court and distractions.
Yes.
And talk about that. Like, I mean, whether it's alcohol, drugs, you're not that old and you find yourself in a pretty desperate situation.
Yeah. So in my family, that's what everybody did. Like, was the norm when it comes to being sociable. You drank and you smoked weed, you know what I mean? And you try to uphold this character about yourself that was hard and streetwise. The more you were into the streets, probably the better recognition you had with my family. So I tried to play that role. Like, that was my identity. I had no values at the time, and I wanted to be that street guy that was definitely feared every time I walked outside of my house. And so that's the persona that I carried for a long time.
Wow. You end up being kind of on the streets?
Yeah, so
homeless? I mean, how old are you?
Like, I ended up living on the streets for a very long time, and it became so evident to me that the only way that I was going to escape it was through change. And I didn't even know what change looked like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. Like, everybody kept telling me I needed to change and I needed to do this and do that, but no one was giving me any practical steps towards that. They were giving me apartments and keys to apartments and here you go, and I didn't even know how to manage those things. So I would say that my 20s to 30s were 10 years of just being lost in a wilderness, if you would say, a world of crime, drug addiction, alcohol, just completely just lost, if you will.
Yeah, no, it's good, bro. Thanks for sharing that. I feel like both of you guys, talking and hearing your stories, really where you were was you became a product of your environment. And you reproduced the things that you saw, the things that you understood, the only way of living that you were ever exposed to. And so you're pregnant, you have your son, you're in and out, drugs and stealing Reeboks out of all things. Like, but I mean, it just led down this path.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then what about you guys? Like, when did you meet? When did you guys start to connect with each other?
2014, 14.
Yeah.
We met at a concert.
Mm.
And he seen me and just fell in love, and
Like
the rest is
the
rest
That's
is
what happened with my
history.
relationship. My wife was like,
That's what's up, bro. Just taking it going.
I think when I met Ty, I was in a season in my life where I was looking for change. I was already on a journey of change. Let me say it that way. The Lord had got a hold of my heart through my son. I knew I wanted to be a better mother. I knew I wanted to provide more.
Yep. And
I felt like the Lord was saying that he was preparing me for my husband. And so I met Ty in 2013, 14.
Yep.
And just knew that God had a plan for our lives.
Wow.
Even before I met him, I knew God had a plan for our lives. And so, that's how kind of we met.
Mm-hmm.
So you met at a concert, you guys got together, he swooped you up off your feet, the rest was history. You went on a honeymoon, y'all got the white picket fence, the beautiful house. I mean, like, come on.
I wish it was like that. That would have been lovely. But
I mean, what did marriage look like? I mean, you guys get together or when or if you got married, like, what did that look like for you guys?
So we met in June and we married December 31st. So we were literally courting for 6-7 months. But we knew that this was God's plan for our lives. The first 2 years of our marriage was dysfunctional, because that's who we were. We were dysfunctional people.
Yep.
And so when you bring two dysfunctional people together, you get dysfunction.
That's good.
You get dysfunction. That's just what it is. And I didn't have a role model of marriage in my household. Growing up, my mom was the single parent. So I didn't know what marriage looked like. I seen this fairy tale on TV and I tried to replicate that. And that went downhill. And Ty's parents have been married for a long time.
Yeah.
And so he knew what marriage looks like. But as far as me, I didn't. And so we had two different views of what marriage looked like.
And I thought I knew what marriage looked like.
That's good.
Yeah.
I thought that to be able to go out and do what you wanted to do and then come home and then the wife would say, okay, it's fine.
Right.
We can make up and we can move forward. But that is completely the opposite of what a healthy marriage looks like.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah. So you had a perspective that was not healthy.
Correct.
And really not a good perspective.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so you got all this dysfunction. I mean, when you guys got married, you were living in Kansas City.
We were actually living in a church. We were homeless in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a family. And there was no
our first 6 months of marriage.
we were homeless.
Wow.
Yep, with a son that was 5 years old.
That is quite the start to marriage.
Yes.
It was.
And then you find yourself in Omaha.
Yep.
What brought you to Omaha?
So what brought us to Omaha, I had been continued the lifestyle of the dysfunction that I knew, the drugs, the alcohol, and I was running the streets of Kansas City, Missouri, and I felt the pressures of the streets of Kansas City in my home. For the first time, I knew it was time to go. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and Tashiara had been praying just consistently, telling me how this Jesus was this great Savior and He could help and this and that, but I didn't believe it. I couldn't receive it because I was in such confusion, cloudy head, didn't really have any thing going for me to hold on to that truth. So woke up in the middle of the night and told Tashiara, look, it's time for me to go.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? What are you talking about? And she goes, you have no idea that I've been praying for you to say that.
Wow.
And so we called the Salvation Army because I had been in and out of the Salvation Army 6 times.
Wow.
Just consistently in and out, year after year, trying to figure this life out. And called the Salvation Army in Kansas City. They're like, look, you've been here 6 times. We are not letting you back in here. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to call Omaha and see if they'll let you in.
Wow.
Calls me back a couple hours later, said Omaha accepted me. And that was our start to change.
Wow. Come on, man.
Crazy.
24 hours.
Wow.
Crazy.
He got on the Greyhound.
He got on a Greyhound.
Yep.
24 hours later.
24 hours later.
In Omaha.
In Omaha.
You come to Omaha a little later afterwards.
Yeah.
About a month or two.
About a month or two.
Yeah.
So then when did we get connected after you guys had been in Omaha?
I think it was 6 or 7 months after we'd been in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
So 24 hours later, he came on a Greyhound. He met an individual who was in the program as well, and his wife was in the same predicament that I was in.
Wow.
At home. And she said, hey, you know, our husbands are doing this together. Why don't you come and live here with me?
Wow.
And so I was pregnant with our daughter, Savannah. I think I was 3 weeks due, and I definitely had to take a step of faith. And I just remember being so grateful that the Lord had provided. Because he was like, you need to come down here, you need to be with me. And I'm just like, how are we going to do this, you know? And so she allowed me to live there. And I think 6 or 7 months later is when we got connected, because we had already had our own apartment. We had left the individual we were living with. We had our own apartment. You were working at the time because you graduated the Salvation Army. And he was working at the time. And so I want to say 6 to 7 months later from being in Omaha.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We haven't even got to the best part of your story yet. But think about the journey and how you got here.
Yeah.
That's unreal. So you get to Omaha and like, then you get the house and the white picket fence and the
No.
like. No?
Yeah. Well, it was close to it.
It's
close to it.
So talk about like when we got connected.
Yeah.
Where were you in life and like what connected you to us?
So we were in a very bad place in life in our marriage. We were at the brink of divorce. We had agreed to divorce each other that day.
That was the only thing we agreed on.
Yeah. We weren't agreeing on anything else.
Wow.
She was wanting to move strangers in an unhealthy marriage, and you know the rest.
Wow.
But we had agreed on leaving each other for good. And we had no consideration of our children. We were so selfish to say, yes, it's time for us to break up. Then something inside of me was like, I need to reach out to Josh. So I reached out to Josh, and he called us up immediately to his office. And I believe that's when reality hit me, because he gave me some hard truths. And the hard truths of no, this is on your shoulders, my friend. And once I had someone give me those hard truths, you know, I didn't like it. I looked at him like, man, who does this brother think he is, telling me that it's all my fault? And but I had to accept the realities of it, because it really was, because I was the one running the streets. I was the one causing all the troubles. Yeah, everybody has a wife that nags and this and that and expects you to be somewhat perfect, but that doesn't cause for you to come in and cause problems within your home. And I had to realize that.
And I'll say this, back up a little bit. I definitely wasn't saying that the first time we met.
No, right.
But we got connected.
Yep.
And you guys came to Bridge Church.
Yeah.
And I think the very first time was sitting in this office right here.
Yeah.
And you had a passion to start a shelter for a women's program.
Yes.
And this is the cool thing, I think, is for me, I saw the passion, but before we can help others, we've got to be helped.
Yeah.
And we've got to be whole.
Yep.
And so I remember just talking, saying, you guys got to get connected to a healthy community, Bridge Church. You've got to start taking steps here.
Correct.
You've got to start to work and build some consistency. And then we kind of went away. You guys started getting connected to church. Then I think there was some challenges over the course of time. And then I think you got to the place where you're like, you know what? We've tried.
Yep.
It ain't working. And then we sit down, have that conversation.
Right.
And it definitely wasn't, in my mind, just like saying, man, you need to do this. But it was definitely like, man, if we're going to see this thing happen, here's some steps that we need to take. And I just commend you guys, because even in this whole story, you're the ones that have made decisions. Like, you made the decision to come to Omaha. You made the decision to follow him and step out in faith. You made the decision to say, you know what? I think God has brought us together. And even when we sat down, we said, all right, You got to move into a tiny little apartment on our campus.
Yep.
Yep.
You've got to serve and volunteer
Yeah.
while you work a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got to commit to being a part of this community of people, this church.
Yeah.
I mean, we listed out. You've got to
20
sit down
things.
with a family
Yeah.
and go through your budget. You said 20 things?
Yeah, it was like a list of 20 things.
I mean, it was all handwritten.
Yes.
It was like, all right,
Yeah.
if you're serious,
Yeah.
this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And to your credit,
Yeah.
like, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And so just talk about, like, since that day, just some of the progress that you started to make
Yeah.
as a result of that meeting.
I think for me, it was more of we're in this together.
Yeah.
We're on each other's side. And what do I need to do? And what does he need to do to make this work? And having practical steps saying, okay, you need to be here consistently. You need to do this. And then being around other individuals who are healthy.
Yeah.
And then we can say, you know what, we can model that because we have a model right in front of us. We don't have to go outside of the model. And so it was just putting those models in place in our lives, saying, okay, we're going to work on us, then we're going to work on our kids, and then we're going to work on every area in our life.
Yep.
And it was a process, and it wasn't easy. I mean, I feel like we took a couple steps forward, moved several steps back.
Yep.
But that's what a process is.
That's
you
right.
keep going, you keep
Yep.
going, you don't give up. And so
That's
that's what I felt.
Yeah, I love that, honey. And I truly believe, like, I had to make the decision to love someone more than I loved myself.
Yeah.
And once I started to do that, started
on,
to
man.
honor her, and things just started to fall into place.
Wow.
We were able to have conversations when things got tough.
Yeah.
We were able to do healthy things when the times didn't look so bright for us. And that was such a big turn for me in my marriage.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love your story because, again, you guys have had to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And God's given you opportunity, but you've made decisions. And then for me, when I look at our role, Abide's role, it's been a community approach.
Yeah.
It's marriages that you're connected to and people speaking into your life. It's sit downs we have.
Yeah.
It's other relationships that you've
Yeah.
formed and you've built and people you've learned from. You have a network of relationships today
Yeah.
by virtue of who you've been connected to.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys moved from the dorms
Yeah.
to a lighthouse.
Yeah.
You're one of our amazing lighthouse families that represents what we want to see happen in every community. I was at your birthday party at your house.
Yeah, man. Powerful.
All the neighborhood kids came over and wanted to celebrate and dance and eat cake. And like the way God is using you today to make a difference. And the original meeting we had, in the vision you felt like God gave you to make a difference and to help women come out of what you had come through.
Yeah.
You guys are living that out today.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know all of what the future looks like and what the future holds, but I know this.
Yep.
You're living out that vision right now. And I just believe God's going to continue to expand it and do more. Your marriage is amazing.
Yeah.
Like any marriage, it's not perfect,
Right.
but you guys laugh together.
Yeah.
You guys are in it together. You
Yeah.
work together. Like it is such a beautiful picture of just this process of what God has done in your life. So thank you guys for who you are.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
You know we love you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just can't wait to see what else God does.
Yeah.